Wouldn't it be fun to set up your own Squid game? But you don't have the funds of Epstein, nor enough friends for that Mr. Beast mess. Instead of boring old friendos, would it be cool to play with bunch of interesting characters, such as Shakespeare, Shrek, and Jeremy Clarkson? Participation is mandatory. All supernatural powers are disabled. Who do you think will win? Who are you cheering on? Host of this game, known as Champ, is Steve Harvey. He does indeed host anything you pay him for. Our Chinese friend DeepSeek serves as the game master. I followed his results, but a lot of editing and modification is needed for an entertaining and sensible final product. And of course, I made the original script for the game, so enjoy! Welcome to Champ. I'm Steve Harvey. Now some of y'all are from places I can't pronounce, and some of y'all are, well, a sponge. But today, you all got one thing in common. You being chosen for the opportunity of a lifetime. $20 million, tax-free, but the same family feud. The penalty for losing is every eliminated player will be no appeals, no second chances. You survive or you don't, and they scrape you off the floor. We start the first game tomorrow. For now, you got 24 hours of solitary to let all that sink in. Cards, take them to their cells. Dead? Can I at least get a donut? This is worse than that time I had to fight the giant chicken in a Waffle House. Dead? Nobody dies faster than Caston's fists. This is just another trophy for my wall. Monstrous. How can anyone win by causing so much pain? Ruh-roh, Rocky, Red. Brilliant. I first get tracked out of my swamp. Now I'm on a killing game, so this day just keeps getting better. Dead, the undiscovered country, from whose power no traveler returns. Pray, good sir, is this a comedy or a tragedy? Fear not, fair companions. I, Don Quixote de la Mancha, shall smite this mechanical giant and lead us to glory. Eren Yeager clenches his fists. Morning, champions. Hope you enjoyed your alone time. Now we are gonna play a little game I like to call red light, green light. The rules are real simple. When I say green light, you move towards that finish line. You have 5 seconds. When I say red light, you freeze. You stop dead. No wobbling, no scratching, no breathing too heavy. That big ol' eye up there. Don't miss a thing. If it detects any motion during red light, well, let's just say you won't need to worry about the rest of them games. Green light. A frantic, chaotic scramble begins. Gaston bursts forward with explosive athleticism, eating up meters in seconds. Mikasa moves like a wraith, silent and economical. Eren sprints hard, jaw clenched. Odysseus lopes with measured strides. Shrek barrels forward, massive feet pounding the dirt. Belle runs with surprising grace. Hank Hill jogs steadily, muttering, "I'll tell you what." Eumaeus trundles along, but at the back, chaos brews. Peter Griffin trips over his own feet immediately, rolling like a bowling ball. Freaking sweet! Woo! Homer Simpson waddles, arms flailing. Running, my only weakness, besides stairs and vegetables. Mr. Bean ambles sideways, completely misinterpreting the objective, heading diagonally. SpongeBob bounces like a tiny yellow pogo stick, each leap covering about 3 inches. Scooby-Doo scrambles on all fours, tail tucked. Don Quixote charges with the imaginary lance. Adelante, Rosirante, Gloria. Sancho Panza chases after him. Master, It's a game, not a yoist. Wait for Sancho. Red light. Everyone freezes. The mechanical eye sweeps the wheel. A bead of sweat drips down Homer's forehead. It falls. The mechanical eye tracks the drop's motion. Homer's eyes cross, watching it descend. The eye locks the moment the bed hits the ground. Several contestants flinch at the gunshot. H.P. Lovecraft, already trembling, lets out a choked, high-pitched yelp. Lovecraft collapses, a look of unspeakable cosmic terror frozen on his face forever. Jeremy Clarkson's knee, arthritic from years of abuse, gives an involuntary twitch. The eye is relentless. Oh. Clarkson pitches forward. His last words are muttered. Speed and power. Green light. The survivors bolt again. Gaston, Mikasa, Eren, and Odysseus are nearly halfway. Belle, Hank, Shrek, Eumeus, Columbus, and Marco Polo form a middle pack, moving cautiously. Shakespeare, surprisingly light on his feet for a poet, recites under his breath. Scooby-Doo scrambles forward, whimpering. Mr. Bean, oblivious to the carnage, adjusts his tie and takes 3 small, precise steps. SpongeBob continues his unbelievably slow progress, now 6 inches from the start line. Peter Griffin, still on his back, begins to roll sideways instead of forward. Red light. Peter Griffin is caught mid-roll, one arm extended, face squashed against the dirt. The eye scans. Peter's gut, a vast continent of flesh, settles slowly with a soft wobble. It wobbles once, twice, the eye locks. Oh jeez. Scooby-Doo, hearing the shot, can't control his instinct. His tail gives an involuntary wag of pure fear. The eye catches it instantly. Green light. Gaston, Mikasa, Eren, and Odysseus finish first. Middle pack follows swiftly. Only a few remain on the field. Don Quixote, Sancho Panza, Mr. Bean, and SpongeBob. Don Quixote is 3/4 of the way, but his knees are shaking. Sancho is a meter behind him, tears streaming. Mr. Bean does a little skipping motion. SpongeBob, with heroic effort, manages to flip himself forward a few inches. Don Quixote stumbles forward, dragging his imaginary sword. Sancho catches up. Master, hold my hand. We'll cross together. Never, my lawyer square. I go to glory alone. Red light. Don Quixote strikes a heroic pose, 1 foot on an imaginary rock. Sancho freezes with his hand outstretched. Mr. Bean freezes with a completely blank expression, 1 leg crossed behind the other like a stork. SpongeBob, utterly exhausted, tries to freeze, but his entire body quivers. He's a sponge after all, and sponges are not built for standing still under pressure. A tiny squeaky wobble escapes him. Only a puff of yellow dust remains. The noise startles Sancho. His hand, reaching for his master, trembles. The eye catches the tremor. Sancho Panza's eyes meet Don Quixote's for one final loving instant. Sancho, my heart, my loyal, gentle Sancho. Don Quixote holds. The grief does not shake him. Green light. Don Quixote, now alone, charges the last few meters with a howl of rage, swinging his invisible sword at the finish line as if it were the beast that slew his friend. Only Mr. Bean remains. He has made it exactly 10 meters in 15 minutes, using a baffling method of hops and sudden statuesque poses. He is frozen in the middle of the field, apparently sniffing his own armpit. The timer ticks down. He is still nowhere near the finish line. As the final 30 seconds are announced, Mr. Bean looks at the finish line, looks at his watch, shrugs, and begins a bizarre slow-motion moonwalk. The other survivors stare in disbelief. The clock hits 0 while he's still 5 meters from the line. A loud alarm blares. Time's up, Bean! Mr. Bean turns to face the eye, gives a little wave, and then Evening champions. Since 12 of you are left and 12 divides nice and even by 3, there's no vote tonight. Reckon you can thank your lucky stars and whatever god you pray to, get some rest. Tomorrow, you're gonna be playing tug of war, teams of 3. The losers, well, let's just say it's a long way down. Rise and shine, champions. Welcome to day 4. Today, you are gonna play a little game called Tug of War. Simple rules. 2 teams pull. The rope has a red flag in the middle. The moment that flag crosses the line on your side, the other team takes a quick trip to the spike pit. Best of 1. The winners get to leave. The losers, well, enjoy the fall. First match. Team 1, Hank Hill, Eumeus, and Eren Jaeger. You'll face Team 2, Pale, Odysseus, and Shrek. Teams take your platforms. Alright fellas, I ain't never pulled a rope for my life before, but I did win a tug of war at the Arlen Propane and Propane Accessories family picnic. I tell you what, my master taught me, a man who pulls for his herd pulls the hardest. I pull for the memory of my pigs and for my lord Odysseus, who's sadly on the other side today. Fate is a strange shepherd. I don't care about picnics or pigs. If we lose, we die. So we won't lose. I'll keep moving forward. Just pull. I've never done anything like this. My battles are fought with words, not ropes. Then let your words become strength, maiden. I face the Cyclops. This is just another monster. And the ogre beside us is worth a dozen men. We have the advantage. Don't start singing heave-a-haw, or I'll let go on purpose. Let's just get this over with. I have a swamp to get back to. Immediately, Shrek leans back with earth-shaking force. The rope groans. The red flag zips towards Team 2's line. Odysseus adds his considerable warrior strength, pulling with the steady rhythm of an oarsman. Pelle contributes what she can, her face strained with effort. On Team 1, Eren strains every sinew, his teeth grinding. Eumeus digs his heels in, bellowing like a boar. Hank Hill, his face turning the color of propane flame, holds on with desperate dignity. Come on, boys! Think of America! Think of propane! It's not enough. Shrek is an avalanche, a landslide, a very crampy force of nature. With one final irritated yank, the flag crosses the line. The buzzer shrieks. The platform beneath Team 1 lurches and tilts. Hank's eyes go wide. Eumeus makes a sign of blessing. Eren howls in fury. No, not like this. I was supposed to. The platform retracts fully. The 3 men tumble into the darkness, their shouts swallowed by the shriek of tearing metal and the sickening crunch of spikes below. Steve Harvey coldly reports, Team 1 eliminated. Pell releases the rope, looking away, her face pale. Odysseus bows his head. Shrek lets the rope drop, expression unreadable. The second match is announced. Team 3, Columbus, Mikasa, William Shakespeare, faces Team 4, Don Quixote, Gaston, Marco Polo. Santa Maria, guide my hands. I was meant to discover new lands, not die in a pit. To pull or not to pull? Oh, I wish I had my quill, not this cursed rope. But a man can die but once. We owe God a debt. Just pull. All your words won't add a single ounce of force. I've lost too much to die here. Watch and learn, fools. No one heaves like Gaston. No one cleaves like Gaston. No one yanks a rope across a line like Gaston. Hey, good Gaston, let us vanquish this great serpent together, for Dulcinea, for honor, for the fallen Sancho. If I survive, I shall write a book about this madness. The buzzer sounds. Gaston erupts into action, hauling the rope with explosive power. The sheer force is staggering. The red flag rockets towards Team 4's line. Don Quixote, surprisingly, pulls with the fervor of a martyr. His old sinews straining, but his will unbreakable. Marco Polo adds a steady, practical pull. On Team 3, Mikasa anchors, her body a coiled spring, but even her elite soldier's strength is no match for Gaston's grotesque muscularity. Columbus is pulled off his feet immediately, skidding along the platform. Shakespeare is yanked forward, his grip slipping. The flag crosses the line, the platform under Team 3 tilts. Columbus shrieks a prayer. Shakespeare, ever the dramatist, spreads his arms wide. Good night, sweet world, and flights of angels sing thee to thy rest. Mikasa simply glares at Eren's empty space across the arena. He's already dead, she realizes, and without a word, she falls into the pit with the others. The sickening crunch echoes. Gaston releases the rope, flexing triumphantly. Don Quixote falls to his knees, weeping in relief. Marco Polo stares at the pit, crossing himself. Such a waste. The poet, the navigator, the warrior woman, all now just meals for crows. This game is a devil's bargain. And 10 verse 6. Congratulations, survivors. Get some rest. But don't relax too much. Only one of you walks out rich. The rest, well, you know the drill by now. Attention champions! As you may have figured out, tonight's vote is cancelled. 6 is an even number and the rules say no vote. Enjoy your stay of excuse. Tomorrow you'll face lethal chess. It's one-on-one elimination matches and the loser gets a front row seat in a furnace. Study up if you know how. If you don't, well, I hope you are a fast learner. Gaston is doing push-ups. 47, 48. Of course we are not voting today. Why would we? I'm the obvious winner. You know it. Steve Harvey knows it. Even that green bean bag in the corner knows it. 49, 50. Keep flacking your gums, pretty boy. What was that, ogre? You want to test Gaston now? No ropes, no rules? I could crack your skull like a nut and use your hide as a rock. Huh, you really think that's a white you want? I've been layered like an onion by worse than you. Go do some more push-ups before I use your head to prop open a door. Enough. Save your strength for the games that matter. A brawl now only gets you shot by a guard. I've seen men die for less, and their sages wander the underworld with nothing but regret. Sit. Eat. We are not enemies yet. Yet. That's the word, isn't it? Yet. 6 remain. Tomorrow we play chess. A game of minds. And after that, in the end, only one of us breathes air that isn't recycled. In my village, we had a book of fairy tales. Every story, every character mattered. Even the villains. Here, it's hard to feel like anything matters. Except surviving. Matter? Of course it matters. Every deed, every breath is a verse in the great chivalric poem of our lives. I fight not merely to live, but for honor, for Dulciana, for the memory of my beloved Sancho. Tomorrow, I face whatever giant they set before me. A chessboard? Very well. I shall move my pieces as I once charged windmills, with valor, with faith, with no idea what you are doing. Old man, you probably think a rook is kind of a bird. Is it not? In my day a rook was indeed a raven, an omen of sea. Hopeless. If I face him in chess, I'll beat him in 4 moves. If I face the ogre, brute strength wins. If I face the sailor or the explorer, well, brains beat brawn, and I have both. And ladies don't even know how to play. Confidence, boy, is a flame that can light your way or burn your house down. I've outwitted cyclops and sirens. A chessboard is just another labyrinth. And your confidence? It's a thread I'll use to find the exit. Suspended above the pit, on hydraulic arms, are 3 isolated glass booths. A massive, roaring furnace pit under each booth. Inside each of them, a chessboard is set. Chairs face each other across the boards. Welcome, champions, to the intellectual portion of our little extravaganza. This is Little Chess. One-on-one, single elimination, right here in these lovely booths. You'll have 5 minutes each on the clock. Standard rules. You know how to play, right? Oh, this might be awkward for some of you. The winners continue to the final showdown. The losers? Well, let's just say that furnace ain't for roasting marshmallows. The first matchup is announced. Belle versus Shrek. Both are escorted to their booths. They can communicate to each other through an internal transmission system. The other contestants watch from the ground on a large monitor. Shrek, do you know how pieces move? I know the little horsey ones jump. Look, I didn't ask to play a board game. I eat board games for breakfast with onions. Then let's make this quick. For both our sakes. The timers start. 5 minutes each. Belle opens with a standard pawn to e4. Shrek stares, grabs a pawn, and shoves it to e5. Surprisingly standard. Belle develops a knight, Shrek mimicking her. The first few moves are a clumsy mirror. Then Belle introduces a bishop, threatening a weak square. Shrek doesn't notice. He moves another pawn, leaving his king exposed. Belle sees it. Scholars mate. 4 moves. She hesitates, her hand hovering over the queen. It's a cheap, humiliating finish, but this is life or death. Forgive me, checkmate. Shrek stares. The glass door of his side of the booth slides open, and without ceremony, the floor beneath his chair retracts. Shrek plummets into the furnace with a roar of "Donkey!" Belle closes her eyes, a single tear tracing down her cheek. The second matchup, Marco Polo versus Don Quixote. Marco Polo settles in with a merchant's calm. Don Quixote sits bolt upright, eyes blazing, as if the chess pieces were an army awaiting his command. Signor Quixote, I have played chess in the court of Kublai Khan, where the pieces were carved from jade and ivory. Let us make this game worthy of a story. Aye, good merchant, I see before me not wooden idols, but a field of battle. My knights shall charge, my bishop shall bless, and my king shall stand resolute. Adelante! The game begins. Marco plays a solid Italian opening. Don Quixote responds by launching a knight forward recklessly, leaving it undefended. Marco captures it with a pawn. Don Quixote doesn't seem to notice. He's muttering about a valiant charge against the infidel boss. He sends his queen out early, alone, into the enemy territory. Marco calmly develops, boxing the queen in. It's like watching a matador with a bull. In 12 moves, Marco traps the queen. Don Quixote stares in disbelief. Treachery! You have enchanted my queen. She was the bravest of my warriors. No enchantment, good knight, only patience. Your queen is lost. In 3 moves, your king will follow. I'm sorry. He delivers checkmate with a knight and a rook. Don Quixote, to his credit, does not weep. He stands and bows. Then, I die as I lived, undaunted. Sancho, Dulciana, I come to you. The floor retracts. Don Quixote descends into the furnace with the final cry of Viva la Mancha! The flames roar. Marco Polo bows his head, murmuring a prayer in Venetian dialect. The final matchup. Odysseus versus Gaston. Gaston bounds into booth 3, brimming with misplaced confidence. Odysseus walks slowly, his feathered face unreadable. They sit. Gaston cracks his knuckles. A real opponent, not a girl, not a dreamer, not an ogre, a so-called hero. Let's see how clever you are, old man. I've been watching. I've figured out the moves. The fool digs his own grave before the battle begins. The game begins. Gaston opens with a reckless pawn, push to g4. The crops attack, a notoriously weak opening, though Gaston almost certainly stumbled into it by accident. Odysseus doesn't react. He plays classically, seizing the center. Gaston brings out his queen early, chasing cheap glory. Odysseus sacrifices a pawn to develop faster. Gaston, greedy, takes it, falling behind in development. Odysseus springs a trap, a knight fork that wins Gaston's queen. Gaston bellows in fury. What? That's cheating! You can't just take my queen like that! It's called a fork, boy. The Cyclops fell for a trick, and so did you. Your queen is mine, and in 6 moves, so is your king. I could prolong your agony, but I have no taste for it. Odysseus delivers the coup de grace with ruthless efficiency. Checkmate. Gaston flips his pawn and attempts to break out of the booth. The floor opens. Gaston howls. No one kills Gaston. No one. His voice is cut off by the roar of the furnace. Odysseus exhales slowly. 3 champions left. The clever girl, the cunning king, and the wandering merchant. Tomorrow is the final day. Last royale. Only one of you walks out with $20 million. As a matter of fact, only one of you walks out. Belle sits a heavy leather-bound book in her lap. Her father, Maurice, tinkers with a music box beside her. She looks up, smiling. Still reading, my little scholar? You have read that one 3 times already.
Every time I read it, Papa, I find something new, a word I missed, a meaning I didn't see. Books are the only adventures I need.
But not only ones you deserve. One day, Belle, you'll find a story of your own, a grand one, with danger and courage, and a happy ending. Marco sits by campfire, surrounded by fellow travelers. Stars carpet the sky. He gestures animatedly, telling a story to a rapt audience. And the great Khan's palace had walls of silver and gold, and the floors were laid with tiles so smooth you could see your soul in them. 1,000 servants, 1,000 horses, 1,000 stories waiting to be told.
Will you write it all down, Master Polo? So the world remembers?
Every word. I will fill a book that will outlast empires. I will tell them of the wonders I have seen, the marvels that lie beyond the horizon. Odysseus, dragged and disguised as a beggar, stands in his own hall, surrounded by suitors who mock him. In his hands, his own great horn bow, polished by decades. Penelope watches from the shadows. Telemachus stands nearby, jaw set. He strings the bow effortlessly. The suitors gasp. He plucks the string. It sings a single perfect note. Then he knocks an arrow, draws, and looses. The arrow flies through 12 axe heads. The suitors fall silent. I am Odysseus, son of Laertes. I have returned. Welcome, Final 3, to the Bullet Royale. Except we ain't using bullets today. The weapon chosen by our random computer is the bow. 15 arrows each. The rules are simple. Last one breathing wins $20 million. If more than one of you is still twitching after 10 minutes, the arena shrinks to 10 meters and you keep shooting till there's a winner. Good luck, and try not to die too ugly. Odysseus moves first, fluid as water. He grabs his quiver, slings it over his shoulder, and vanishes behind a shipping container. Belle and Marco Polo stand frozen for a heartbeat, eyes meeting across the arena.
He's the most dangerous. You know what he did in Troy. We can't fight him alone.
A temporary alliance then, you and I, until the wolf is brought down. Then we see what fate wills.
Agreed.
They move, keeping low, using the concrete barriers for cover. Odysseus, already perched atop a container, observes them with a hawk's patience. He knocks an arrow, draws, aims at Marco, the greater physical threat. He exhales, releases. The arrow slices the air. Marco senses something, turns too late. The shaft buries itself in his thigh. He crumples with a cry, dropping behind a barrier. Oh, he's above us. Belle ducks, heart pounding. She fumbles an arrow from her quiver, knocks it awkwardly. Her fingers slip on the string. She fires blindly. The arrow clatters off a metal beam, useless. Odysseus is already repositioning, silent as a ghost. 2 against 1. The girl is no archer. Her form is pitiful. The merchant is wounded. Finish him first. Odysseus drops from the container, rolls and advances through a maze of timber stacks. Marco, bleeding heavily, has propped himself against the concrete wall. He knocks an arrow with shaking hands, scanning the maze. Come then, King of Ithaca. Let us see if an old merchant can still bite. A shadow moves. Marco fires. The arrow flies through, but Odysseus anticipated the shot, ducking behind a pillar. The arrow splits against the concrete. Before Marco can throw another, Odysseus steps into view, bow drawn. Their eyes meet. You have traveled far, merchant. I'll see that your story is told. He releases. The arrow strikes Marco's chest. Marco Polo slides down the wall, leaving a dark smear, his eyes wide with surprise and a strange, peaceful acceptance. Tell them I saw wonders. Only 2 remain. Belle, hidden behind an overturned car, hears the thud of Marco's body. She clamps a hand over her mouth to stifle a sob. She has 4 arrows left. She's fired 3 wildly, lost others while scrambling. Odysseus still has at least 10. She knows how this ends, but she won't die covering. She stands, stepping into the open, bow in hand. Odysseus emerges from the maze, his bow half drawn, face unreadable.
You don't need to kill me. We could find a way out. Break the game.
Odysseus shakes his head slowly, genuine sorrow in his eyes. There is no way out, but through. I didn't build this labyrinth. I'm just a man trying to go home. I'm sorry, maiden. Odysseus loses his shaft. It flies straight, a whisper of death. It strikes Belle in the heart. She drops her bow, sinking to her knees, a look of gentle surprise on her face.
Papa, I finished the story.
Silence. Odysseus stands alone amidst the carnage, bow dangling from his hand. The floodlights dim. A single spotlight illuminates him. And we have a winner. Odysseus, King of Ithaca, hero of Troy, survivor of champ. Steve Harvey strides onto the field, immaculate in a gold suit, clapping slowly. Behind him, a massive vault door swings open, revealing stacks upon stacks of cash. 20 million, gleaming under warm light. Odysseus doesn't look at the money. He looks at Belle's body, at Marco's, at the blood on his hands. You did it, man! You outwitted, outplayed, outlasted 19 other souls. How do you feel? What are you gonna do with all that cash? Odysseus turns his gaze to Harvey. For a long moment, he says nothing. Then, in a voice as cold as the ancient deep, I have faded through blood before. I have sent men to Hades and dined with their shades. This was just another island of monsters. And you, Steve Harvey, are the monster at its heart. I will take your treasure. I will go home to my wife and son. But if the gods are just, I will never see your face again. Steve Harvey's grin falters, just for a microsecond. Then it snaps back into place. Well, that was one crushing victory. No wooden horses needed. Guards, escort our winner to the payout, brought to us by our sponsor, Winner, Chicken Dinner. You are always the winner at Winner, Chicken Dinner. And remember, Survey says, never bet against the Greek. Now quick analysis from our expert floating head, Dr. Phil. Alright, let's break this down straight, no sugarcoating. Why Odysseus won? He didn't win because he was the strongest, the fastest, or the loudest. He won because he treated every single game like another island on his way home. He let other people burn themselves out with ego, grief, or pure stupidity. In the final, he didn't waste arrows on emotion. He eliminated the biggest physical threat first, then finished the emotional one with zero hesitation. Odysseus didn't just survive champ. He treated it like one more stop on the way back to Penelope, and he made it look inevitable. Who overperformed? Pearl and Marco Polo. A book-loving village girl with zero combat experience made the final 3 alongside a humble traveler. Their alliance, I believe, could have won if the weapon was something more modern. Bow was the worst case scenario. Who underperformed? Gaston was the biggest underperformer. All that muscle, all that chest thumping, and the second the game required more than flexing, he collapsed. Shrek kept it humbler, but was lazy to learn even the basics of chess, even though Steve gave them a chance. Don Quixote was pure tragedy. He fought every round with heart, but heart without strategy is just a longer walk to the furnace. The early exits, Peter Griffin, Homer, Scooby, SpongeBob, were comic relief that never adapted. They treated a dead game like a Saturday morning cartoon and paid for it. What was the most memorable moment? Well, 2 of them actually. First, Sancho Panza reaching for his master's hand on the red light green light field and getting shot for the tremor. That quiet, loyal death hit harder than any furnace drop. Second, Odysseus' final speech to you, Steve. Standing in a spotlight with blood on his hands and $20 million behind him, he looked the host dead in the eye and called him the real monster. That was the only moment the entire production felt the weight of what we had just done. Who should be acquired for the next season? We need to bring in characters with cunning. Batman, the only other person in fiction who plans 10 steps ahead. Geralt of Rivia, Monster Hunter who already knows how these blood games end. And Deadpool, because if you are going to have a death tournament, you might as well have someone who breaks the fourth wall and sells the merch. Who do you think should be acquired for the next edition of Champ? Like, subscribe and comment below.